Hi there, Nandy. Hopefully I have this recording so you can see all this. I thought it'd be easier for me just to record a video of what I'm going to work on with your logo so I can show you how to do it, and then you can do it for yourself at home. Okay? So I'm not sure how long this will be, but I'll upload it to YouTube and then send it out to you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and open up Adobe Illustrator. This is the file you sent me yesterday, so I want to show you the difference between this file, which as you can see as I move around, I see all your objects that you created. Okay, as opposed to the file you opened or you sent me yesterday, or a few days ago, sorry, the letterhead. This is the link that I get, and the linked file is not available because it's a PDF and it's on your hard drive, not on mine. So I could choose to replace it, but I have nothing to replace it with. That is yours. So if I ignore it, this is the file I get. So all I get is a square. So that's why we had the issue with your file, that I could not see anything on it. Okay, I just wanted to show you what I was seeing. All right, I'm going to close that one down because I can't do anything with it anyway. Okay, and as I said, this is the one that you sent me yesterday. Now, this is what I needed to see. So now I can figure out, one, how you did it, and two, how to fix it for you and how to make it work as a logo. So when we're producing a logo, you cannot use lines and have them survive as a logo, because as you scale them and as you adjust them, they will not scale appropriately. They'll change the look of your logo. You also can't recolor it. You can't use it as a knockout or a monochrome version. So there's lots of reasons why you never want to use lines on a logo. But what you've done here is actually easy to remedy and to make it so that it's not lines. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So when you created this, you used the pen tool, by the look of it, but you didn't use any curves whatsoever. Now, if you're going to be a graphic design major, you must learn to use the pen tool properly, and that includes using curves with your pen tool. So just super quickly, I'm just going to show you kind of the shortcut for how to use the pen tool. Okay, so right now you're doing everything with these straight lines and these corner points. So you're clicking, you're moving, clicking, moving, clicking, moving. Okay, does this look familiar? Okay, this is how you can build an object with straight lines and with corner points. Okay, but if you want to build something, undo that. If you want to build something with smooth curves, then you have to click and drag out these direction handles. Click, drag out direction handles. Click, drag out direction handles. Okay, and at first this is going to feel a little awkward, but the more you work with it, the easier it will get. And this is like probably the #1 tool that as a designer you must know how to use. So please make sure that you practice using this tool. And then you can also use the direct selection tool to adjust these points and these handles. Okay, so you can adjust the length, which will adjust the type of curve. You can turn it inside out, but not really useful to do that. But if you ever see one inside out, that's all you have to do is just untwist. Okay, but how you adjust these handles and how you turn them will adjust the shape of that curve. You can also use the Convert Anchor Point tool, which is this little arrow-like thing. If you click on it, it becomes a corner point. If you click and drag, it becomes a smooth point. Okay, you can also subtract and add points up here. Okay, so now I could go through your entire graphic, or I could ask you to go through your entire graphic and change all these things. But in the kind of essence of time here, not to steal from your logo, the word essence, but anyway, just for the sake of time, I'm going to do something a little different. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out your text temporarily because it's going to be a little awkward to work with on this. And I'm going to pull out all of this stuff and just separate it from that. Okay, so I'm going to start there. Now, it did look a tiny bit squished. I think it may have gotten squished at some point on you. So I'm going to stretch that out. Okay, so now as I zoom in on your work here, I can see all these corners and all these rigid lines. Okay, so I'm going to try something here, and hopefully it'll work fairly well. First thing I'm going to do is select all of these and go over to my stroke menu. And on stroke, I'm going to change my cap to a round cap and my corner to round join. Okay, it doesn't change the type of point, but it should smooth things out a little bit for you. Okay, so already it looks a little bit smoother. Let's see if I can find a few other tools to clean this up a bit more. And then I'm going to show you the one that really makes a difference because it changes it from being lines to being solid objects. Okay, so I'm going to come up here to Object, And I'm going to go to simplify. Okay, now this one, you have to be very careful how you use it. It's also a good idea to zoom in. Whoops, here. I'm going to cancel that and zoom in a bit before I do this so I can see it more carefully. So object, path, simplify. Now, if you start at 50%, it's going to totally change your drawing. Okay, we don't want that. Okay, but what we do want is just a subtle change just to clean it up a little bit. Okay, and with a bit of luck, this will be enough. We may have to hand change a few points, but I'm hoping this does enough of them that we can kind of expedite the process here. Okay, so that's at about 95%. I can still see some that we're going to have to change by hand. Not a huge deal. We're also going to have to make sure that every single line overlaps so that the next thing that I do will actually work. Okay, but it's still going to be a whole lot quicker to do this process than it will to fix every single line in here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go with that. So it went from 1,315 points to 514 points. So it's, you know, less than half now. So it does make it a little bit easier. Okay, so I'm going to do that. Next thing I'm going to do is actually start adjusting a couple of these points to make sure that they overlap completely. The last process I'm going to do is going to require that these overlap. So I'm going to go ahead and fix as much of that as I can to try and get everything to overlap well. Okay, so I'm still going to have to do some manual cleanup, but it's not too bad. So, okay, and this is a normal process of designing. You have to clean up your files and you have to learn all the new tools, and don't feel bad if you don't get it all right away. No one does. But in time, you will get this and you'll be a better designer because you have to fight your way to get there, okay? So make yourself learn tools that you don't already know because it will help you in the long run, okay? Oh, hi, Putty Cat. My cat has come to assist. He's frequently my assistant. All right. This whole line, I'm going to go ahead and move a little. Okay, so you see that I'm just kind of overlapping the lines and making sure that the red lines that you see with the points are overlapping. Okay, and that might mean a little bit of changing and simplifying and stuff. That is all easy enough to do. So I'm doing all this with the direct selection tool, which is that tool right up here. Okay, and if you don't have these like this, the only reason you don't is because you just haven't pulled them out. So the pen tool sits here. See this little arrow down here? Okay, I'm just going to hold it, come over to this edge, and tear it off. It's called a tear off function. I usually keep my pen tools open because I use them all the time. Which, once you get used to them, I promise you will too. You'll actually love the pen tool one day. I know it's hard to think about that, but you will, because it really is the best tool to use for this stuff. Oops. Oh, wrong tool, duh. Okay. Come here. So once you get used to the pen tool, it'll become kind of second nature for you to do all this. So let yourself practice with it, and you will get to the point where you don't even really think about what you're doing. It's just easy. So let yourself learn that, okay? It really is important if you're going to be a graphic design major. And I saw that you kind of want to do an emphasis on web design. You're going to have to work with these tools all the time as a web designer too. So give yourself, you know, the credit for learning it, because I know you can. Okay, so this is going to take a while. I'm going to go ahead and pause. Well, you know what? You can fast forward through this. You don't have to sit here and watch me do all this. I would like to see you do this, quite frankly, with your own file instead of letting me do it, because otherwise I'm kind of robbing you of the chance to learn how to do this yourself, and it really is an important skill for you to learn. So I'm doing it for you because I want you to be able to finish in time, but I really hope that you take the time to do it for yourself, even if it's after class is over. Just learn it because it's a desperately needed skill for anybody in this industry. Okay, so you can watch me do this if you want, or you can fast forward through this part. I'm going to go ahead and record it because it really doesn't hurt anything to record, and it'll save me having to upload multiple files. So fast forward if you wish, and I will see you in a few minutes. Okay. So I'm just putting that up there just so you come back. I want to show you something down here. Okay. And delete that. Okay, so you see, one of the reasons we don't draw by lines when we're creating stuff is because of issues like this. I'm going to show you how to fix it just for this, but you really need to learn how to create an object as opposed to using lines, because it would save you a lot of time in the future and a lot of frustration. So do make sure that you learn those tools. Okay, just for grins right now, I'm going to go ahead and do something a little different just so we can eliminate this potential problem here. So let me just adjust this curve a tiny bit. Okay, and I understand why you use lines. I do get it because a lot of students do it this way, but it's just going to make things harder for you in the future, so you don't want to do that. Okay, so I'm going to first start by using my Add Anchor Point tool, and I'm going to add a point here, and here, here, and here, here, whoops, okay, I know, here, and here. Now I can actually use my cut tool so I can cut between them. And I don't use it a whole lot. There it is, scissors tool. Okay, so you use your scissors tool and you're going to cut between points. So you have to find the point you just made and cut them. So now this becomes a separate line as opposed to this and this. Okay, and again, this is not the ideal way to do it, but it's one way to fix this, at least on a temporary kind of note. Okay. Okay. Then I can take this and I can just eliminate these lines, and this will solve this problem. Okay. So again, this is not the ideal way to do it. It's not the ideal way to build it, but it's a way of fixing a problem temporarily, at least. Okay, so we're not looking for perfect in your very first class. We're looking for solid efforts made to create a usable logo. Okay, I don't expect perfection from anybody in this class, but I do expect people to try. So I get frustrated when people give up. So you didn't give up, you tried, and you definitely tried with a good tool, but it's just not the best way for you to do this. So please help yourself by using the correct tools. Okay, so I'm going to go back and continue fixing. So again, if you want to hang out and watch me do this, you can. If you want to fast forward, no problem. Okay, I'll do the text thing again before I start talking about anything useful. Okay. any of these should be there. I don't think so. Of course, it would be a different color. Okay. Okay, hi there. All right, so I'm just trying to figure out if this needs to be fixed. I think you had the breads overlapping the bread or the banner, which you can do, but you didn't on this side. For the sake of getting this accomplished in the time that we have left, I'm not going to try and fix this, but I do want to show you how you should have done this after I just kind of fine-tune a couple more things. Actually, you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to show you a file that I was working on for a yearbook cover for a school. Let me go find it. And I want to show you how to do this type of look almost in a different way. Okay, and you can use the blob brush tool to create things like this, or you can use just a pen tool to create things. There's a bunch of different ways to do it, but there are some easier ways for you. Is it that one? Yeah, I think this is the final one. Okay, so I'm just going to open this up. Okay, so you can see this is in a way similar to what you wanted to do, but you see how each of these is an object, and I have them on different layers as well, because for me it's, you know, for most people it's easier to work on layers. So I can turn layers on and off, okay? But you can see how these are different objects. And they're much easier to manipulate than a bunch of lines would be. So it takes time and it takes practice to learn how to do this type of look, but it is doable. And with some practice, you will get there. Okay, so I use the pen tool to create this, but the blob brush tool, where is it? I don't use it a whole lot. I like the pen tool better, but it is another useful tool. It's hiding underneath one of these. Nope. Oh, this is another useful one, though. You might want to learn how to use that. We don't use it in class, but it does have its purpose. Oops, not that one. I really thought it was under there. Where's blob brush? This is how often I use it, but yes, yes, yes. Oh, and turn the perspective grid off. Hide. Thank you. All right, I'm not sure where the blob brush tool is. It's under here somewhere. Look it up in your book. Oh, is that it? Nope, that's not it either. All right, it's called Blob Brush, B-L-O-B brush. And it's basically a way of like painting with a paintbrush, but you can do lines that turn out to be objects. It's not ideal, and it does, you still have to do some fine tuning and stuff, but it's not too bad. And you might enjoy working with that, at least until your pen tools get a little bit, you know, stronger. So try both, but Blob Brush, it's over here somewhere. I can't believe I can't find it, but anyway, it's under there someplace, and you'll find it if you just look it up really quick. So learn the blob brush tool, because I think that'll help you as well. And then the pen tool, of course. All right, so I've done quite a bit of cleanup on this. It's not perfect, but I think the next step that I'm going to show you will be easy enough to accomplish. And it'll just make it a little bit easier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make all of these lines into solid objects. So it's called outline stroke, and it basically places an outline stroke on top of a current stroke to make it a fill. I don't know if that made sense, but hopefully it'll make more sense once I do it. Now, the upside to doing that is that you can then merge everything together as a single object, and you can move it as a single object. You can also recolor the lines as a single object. The downside to doing that is that you cannot fill all these objects, and ideally, you would be able to fill these objects as separate objects. Because there will be times when you need to reverse the color on this. You need to have this exist with white lines on a black background, for instance. So there's steps to doing that, which I've explained in quite a few of the demos that I posted in the module for discussion. I would suggest you go back and have a look at some of those because they will help you learn some of these kind of advanced techniques and such. All right, so for the time being, however, I'm going to first take a copy of this, and I'm just going to pull it outside the artboard just so I have an unaffected copy, okay? Because what I'm about to do radically changes what I can do with this graphic. So I want to make sure I have it in the original copy just in case I have to go back to it. Okay, now I'm going to select all my lines again. I'm going to go up to Object, Path, Outline Stroke. Okay, and hopefully this will work. We will find out shortly if I have to do other changes. Okay, all right, well that's a good sign. Okay, so hopefully we're good to go. So now if you zoom in, you see how these are now objects instead of lines. Okay, and because they're objects, I can refill them in any color I want. Okay, now of course you're probably not going to want most of these colors, and that's fine. Okay, we're going to stick with the brown. But it's nice to know that you can. You can also delete points or anything else. Okay, so this is now its own object. So if I just click on the background, this is now a separate object on its own. I can move it, I can do whatever I want, but it's a solid fill as opposed to a stroke. Okay, now something else that I want to do here is I want to merge all of these lines or all these fills now into a single object. So I'm going to once again select everything. I'm going to go to my Pathfinder tools, which you can find under Window and Pathfinder. Okay, I usually leave it open just because I use it quite often. And then you want to go to this one down here called Unite. And with Unite, it will create one single object over everything. So now this is a single object. It is no longer a bunch of lines. It's no longer a bunch of objects that are filled. It's now one single object. And one of the reasons I wanted to make sure that most of my lines overlapped is so that this would work well. Now we still have a few that are like this, so I need to do one more stroke or one more step, which is called Object, Compound Path, Make. Now, whether the objects are attached or not, if it was selected when I did that, it's now a part of a single path. Okay, so again, I can recolor this however I want. Okay, so that is a useful trick. All right, so that's basically a fix done on this, okay? Now you can do the same thing on this if you want to. Honestly, I found this illustration style to be radically different from this one, so I would probably actually do some very simple swirl marks in the same style that you did here, as opposed to using this. And you can even use a heart shape if you wish, but I would do it in the same illustration style as opposed to bringing in this kind of faded look. It just looked like it didn't quite match that well. Okay, so that's a personal taste thing. You can do with it as you wish, but I felt it was a little out of place. Okay, so now on this, you used, you had your regular font and then you used one of the warp tools. Okay, good choice on doing that. The only thing that I would worry about with this is that it kind of got squished a little bit. So I would maybe, let's see, it's going to still do that. Text doesn't take well to effects like this. You also have a stroke on it though, so let's see if I can't get rid of the stroke, because sometimes that muddies up the letters. Yeah, that's a little bit cleaner. I know you were trying to make it heavy, like more bold, but what it does, it just muddies up the inside of the letters. It's still a little squished. I don't really love it being squished. Text in general should never be squished, just a general rule of thumb. But before I place this back on here, oops, I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to go to Object, Expand. You can also use Expand Appearance. In this case, it's Expand. Okay, and now instead of being a piece of affected text, the paths and the points have been affected this way. So now if you zoom in, you notice you don't have the straight text above it. Now you simply have these shapes. Okay, now you have a different color fill and stroke. I'm going to put those as the same color because it's just distracting when they're different. I'm also going to come over here and do that round cap just so that it smooths out some of those joints on the letters. And then I'm going to stretch it down a little bit to make it a little bit easier to read. Hopefully it'll still fit. Okay. And since all of this is in what color? It's in this color. You have this one in the darker? Yes, you do. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go probably to that chocolate brown. And I'm going to put it on the edge as well. I'm going to see how that works. Of course, the hard part is still getting it to fit, which is a little tricky. Actually, you know what? I might need to go back and adjust your curve a little bit. There's a couple other ways to do that. I might go back to your original, or I might see if this one will allow me to. I don't know if this will let me do it enough. Let's reset. Object, expand appearance. Okay. And now let's see. Yeah, the curve is just a little bit off from the curve of the banner. You see that? Okay, I'm not going to worry about getting it perfect because, again, we have a kind of a time crunch situation on our hands. But if I can get it a little bit closer, that would be awesome. Okay, that's not too bad. It's not perfect, okay? If I was giving this to a client, I would continue to adjust this to make sure that this was correct. Okay, there's a few things I would change in how I designed it and such, but, you know, it's a learning process, and that's part of what we're here for, so that is okay. All right, but that's a little bit easier to read. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and make the change that I suggested to you. You are very welcome to ignore my suggestion if you wish. Okay, my suggestions are not always 100% appropriate for everybody, but I'm going to change that to a different type of swirl. So I'm going to use my pen tool, and I'm just going to make some just simple little swirly marks here. I'm going to take off. Oops. Let's go back to line. Okay. Okay, and because you kind of have this kind of funky hand-drawn look that I like, I'm going to try and replicate it a little bit. So I'm going to use more or less the same drawing method that you had used originally. So I'm going to create the lines, make sure I change the caps and the joins, and then I'm going to outline it the same way that I did with all your illustration down here, just because I want to make sure that it matches. Okay, I don't know if I'm going to use this darker chocolate brown or save that only for the text. I think I'll probably change it for the text. So let me go ahead and make this, I believe it was that brown. I'm just going to delete that point. I don't need it. The fewer points you have, the smoother a path. So just for future reference. There we go. So I still want it to look a little rough, a little hand-drawn, okay, but, and just to simplify my life, I'm just going to make a copy of this. And then I'm going to adjust the copy so that it looks reasonably different. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a reflect. Make a copy of that one, and now I have a third. So I'm just going to adjust these so that they look different enough that it doesn't look like I copied, but it's just a good, quick, kind of easy way to shortcut it. Okay, shortcuts are a designer's best friend. You're going to learn how to make them. The trick is to use shortcuts that work for you, not against you. Okay, so that's the difference. So the shortcut that you use with the pen tool works, but it doesn't work as well as some other tools. Okay, so that's why I want you to learn the ones that will benefit you in the future, not just short term. Does that make sense? I hope. Okay, I might do one more here too. Make sure that point size does not change. You can also rotate them a little bit too. Okay, normally I would do an odd number. In Western mentality, it just looks better. But I think actually I'm going to stick with 4 on this one. Okay, so again, they have a similar look to what you have down here, but it's not exactly the same. Okay, so now I'm going to take the 4 lines. I'm going to do object, path, outline the stroke. Okay, and I've already made sure that the cap and the corner are smooth and joined. Okay, so outline stroke. Okay, in this case, none of them are overlapping, so I don't need to do the shape mode, but I am going to go ahead and group these objects so I can change them kind of together. Okay, so these 4 objects are now grouped, and these 4 objects are now fills, not lines. Okay, see how that works? Same way as this. Okay, they're on a different layer actually. I don't know if you were using layers or not. I guess you probably were. Yes, you were. Okay, good. That's another really good skill for you to keep in touch with too, because that's important. So I'm glad to see you use those. Looks like you went through quite a few. I've done that. Boy, have I ever done that. Okay. One artboard. Okay. All right, awesome. So I'm going to put both of these on the same layer. And I'm also going to group them together. Okay, so now they're all on layer 4, the blue layer. All right, and your text here, let's see how you did it on the curve. Okay, you did type on a curve, excellent. Okay, now I wouldn't recommend a hollow text like this because it's really hard to read, and you see how it kind of muddies up the edges of those letters? Okay, it's a nice font for some purposes, but probably not your best choice for this one, okay? So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to come down here. I'm going to type in upper crust. And bakery. I don't want all caps on that one though. Okay. So I'm going to put both of these in that dark brown, the same as I use for Feel the Essence. Okay, first thing I want to do is go find a font. So with this serif font, I will probably use something similar to this. I'm not sure what your font was here. It would be ideal if this matched bakery and then this was something different. So if you can redo this text, make it the same font as what we're going to use on bakery in a few minutes, and maybe choose something a little different here. Okay, so okay, now you already probably know that you can move that, add fonts. So if you don't find a font that you like, or if you see one that I have that you would like to try, there's easy ways of doing it. See, that's another hollow font, but it's just too hard to read, so I'm going to avoid that one. And some fonts like this one are too hard to read in all caps, so you just have to kind of keep track of which ones do or don't work for different purposes. Slab serif are really good because they don't have the thick, thin differences. They're just all solid. This is a good one for this purpose, actually. And hatch regular, ooh, I like that one. That one's a little more classic. That one might be a good choice too. So there's a few in here you can kind of play with, but slab serifs are really helpful. I used to have a lot more loaded. I don't know what happened to them all. I'm gonna have to reload them. I'm gonna use hatch regular, I think. Okay, and because I want the illustration to play second to the name of the business, I'm gonna make this bigger. Okay, and it's also in the darker brown like this. And then this one, I wanted to have a similar feel to this. You may have used times, actually. I'm not positive what you used here. It looks like it could be times though, so I'm going to go ahead and use that for now. If you have the time, I would recommend that you make this in the same font and adjust this curve so that it matches a little bit more closely. And I'll show you another way to do this that might actually work better than the tool that you used. Okay, and I'm going to make this that same lighter brown color. And I'm trying to make it fit. Okay. And then I'm going to bring that down. And actually, I'm going to add one more detail in here. I'm going to add a hand-drawn line right through here. Just because I want to try and bring the feel of this along with this. Okay. I don't know. I may not like this in the end, but I'll have a look at it. I don't know. I don't know if I like that. It feels like it needs something, but I don't know if that was the right option. No, I don't think I like that. I think it has potential, but I don't know. I don't hate it. I don't love it. I'd probably try a few other things. I'm going to leave it there for now. I'll let you decide if you like it or if you hate it. I'm just not sure on it. You could also maybe enclose the whole thing in a hand-drawn line. And well, not to confuse the issue, because I don't want you to put them into this particular look, but there are options for the brush. Some of the brush library, if you go into artistic, the ink and the charcoal pencil can give you like a hand-drawn look, but it's not truly hand-drawn. You can just use the pencil to use these, but it gives it a hand-drawn look, but they're nice to play with. Again, you want limited usage of this stuff, especially in a logo, because if logos get too complicated, they just don't work when they get scaled down. Even this, I think, is going to lose its effect once you scale it down. But because of the, again, essence of time here, I'm not going to have you redo it completely, because I think you're going to spend a lot of time doing it. But for future reference, this complication, this level of detail wouldn't work for a logo typically. Okay, so just FYI on that. You know what I might do? I'm going to, oops, escape. I'm going to pull this off. I wonder if just a straight line would maybe work better. Making sure that I match those endpoints, putting it in the light brown, maybe making it a little heavier. Maybe putting it in the dark brown. I think it was that one we were using. I don't know. I'm still kind of torn on that. It feels like it needs something. I just don't know if that's the right answer. Anyway, I'll let you play with it a little bit more, but I just wanted you to see some of the steps that you could make to cleaning this up. Okay, so now that the name is so much bigger than the logo, than the illustration rather, you can see that even though the detail is going to disappear once you shrink this down or once you size out, at least the name and the function of the business will remain intact. Okay, so I just want to try something real quick. Sometimes it's better to not use upper lowercase if you have these alignment issues. Sometimes it just looks cleaner if you don't. I might like that better. Anyway, I'm going to let you play with the text and kind of come up with some answers for yourself. But this is what I would suggest to you for your logo, just for cleaning it up and making it function as a logo. Okay. Now, if you decided you liked something like this, you would need to use this for your appropriate and inappropriate usage assignment. Okay, and also for your stationery system. So you'll need to get those turned in pretty quickly. The final portfolio is officially due on Sunday, but you're going to probably need a couple more days. So why don't you take until next Tuesday to get your final portfolio finished, okay? I've been working on another example in here as well, just to post to you guys. So I'll post this sometime the next few days. Anyway, I still got to work on the business cards and the text pieces. Anyway, get that done for yourself. And get everything turned in as soon as you can so that I can get you some feedback on it. I hope you found that this recording's been helpful. I hope that you will trust that I am trying to help you. I'm not really trying to attack you or anything. I just want to make sure that you have the skills that you need to move forward. I did notice that your major is graphic design and web design. So being that that's the case, I'm going to be fussier about your work than I will about somebody who's going to be a comm major. Comm majors will probably never design a logo. You probably will. So you have to learn these skills more intricately and more detailed than somebody who's a comm major. So I am not going to necessarily be harder on you, but I am going to expect more from you simply because of that. Okay, so I hope you understand my perspective and why I couldn't see your original file and all those types of things. So anyway, let me know if you need some help. Let me know if something isn't working for you or whatever. Okay, I'm going to save this and I'm going to forward it on to you as an AI file and also as a JPEG file just so you can see it. And then the video that I'm currently recording, man, I hope it's been recording, I'm going to go ahead and upload to YouTube. All right? So anyway, have a great weekend. Let me know if you get stuck on something. I check my email several times a day usually. Okay? So take good care. Bye-bye.